Hello and welcome to St. Louis on Stage this week. St. Louis on Stage is a brand new St. Louis website and social media platform hoping to connect, promote, and celebrate the people, productions, opportunities, and organizations that make up the Greater St. Louis Theater Ensemble. My name is Troy Schneider. I appeared on St. Louis stages a few decades ago and have taught theater for the past 25 years. Joining us today is Kevin Corpuz, a Filipino-American creative producer, actor, marketer, and arts leader based in New York City. Kevin is passionate about creating spaces where artists and communities feel challenged and connected through the love of theater. Kevin is also the creative producing director of the Tesseract Theatre Company. Welcome to the show, Kevin. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Troy? Thanks for having me.
I'm great. Also, if I can get this to go right, along with Kevin this week, we have Brittanie Gunn. Brittanie is a St. Louis native and the co-founder and creative producing director at Tesseract. She is committed to creating a safe, artistic home for artists and creatives to collaborate on showcasing art to the community. Brittanie is the founder and creative producing director for the Tesseract Theatre Company. Hello, Brittanie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. So this is really our first show, and I just want to have a conversation. We even created it like, if you remember Two on the Aisle, I bet you guys are both too young, but there was Two on the Aisle that was done by two Gene and Bob reviewers. It's still review, I believe. And I sort of did that and even wanted the theme song to sound sort of like cable access while still being catchy. So anyway, that's where we're at. So we're just having a conversation. I guess the only person we're missing is Tesseract's production manager, Sarah Backham. And as I understand it, Tesseract Theater won some awards in 2025, didn't they?
We did. Was that 2024?
Was it 2024?
Yeah, it was 2024.
Wow. So what was it exactly that you all won? I know it was a lot.
We did Anastasia and The Inheritance in the same season.
Mm-hmm.
And so we kind of won a lot. We won Best Drama, we won Best Ensemble in a Drama, we won Best Featured Actor in a Drama, and we won Best Director in a Drama for The Inheritance.
And Best Featured Actress as well.
And Best Featured Actress as well, our supporting actress, right?
Supporting actress, yeah, for The Inheritance. Yep.
For The Inheritance. And then we won Best Musical, Best Direction of a Musical, Best Featured Actress of a Musical, Best Ensemble of a Musical,
Best Lead Actress in a Musical,
and Best Lead Actress of a Musical for Anastasia. So it was a big, year.
Yeah, to say the least. That's amazing. You'd be happy to win a couple of those, let alone all of them. That is fantastic. And so I'm guessing some of that is because Tesseract really does not shy away from ambitious goals. As you've stated, you seek to produce work that is artistically excellent, accessible, and rooted in empathy, curiosity, and inclusion. So I'm curious how you're able to do all that. Obviously, with the awards, you've done all that. But how do you get that? How do you approach that?
The way we really program our seasons is we kind of we think about the community as a whole, right? We kind of think about St. Louis, what stories are being told, and a question that me and Brittanie always ask each other is it the right time? So, when we got to, something about Anastasia is just it's such a big show, and we wanted to approach it with, a cast of 16 of 17 people. Anastasia should probably be done with 30 people. But we're how can we get some of the most talented actors that maybe St. Louis doesn't even they haven't been introduced to yet. So we try to see what those opportunities look like for the community around us, and then how can we really amplify these actors and the production, and how can we just show the city of St. Louis just something different by leaning more into the story as opposed to the music and the choreo, which are all very important. But how can we like get this story to really jump out at you, and like maybe we could surprise some audience members of like, whoa, that was Anastasia, you know?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then when you strip down the spectacle or the size, you're down to the story, just the raw story, which is people relating and characters, asking why are they behaving that way, what are they doing, how do they relate to each other. That is fantastic. I love theater like that. I just do.
Yeah.
I mean, I love all theater, but those are the ones I always try to explain to my students, and I teach middle school, so they don't know anything. But if somebody, you watch something on TV and they use sound effects and they use spectacle and they make you tear up or whatever. But if somebody 20 feet from you is hurting, you feel it. They don't need the special effects. It's happening.
Yeah.
So anyway, I love the space, and I loved watching Jagged Little Pill, for example. But anyway, so
Yeah.
I really wanted to dig into the community and why those are important to the community. I think you dug into that. So why to you are those so important? I mean, I've been dying to ask this, but is there a story from the rehearsal process or auditions or performance that sort of illustrates the best of Tesseract Theater? Like an aha moment or something where you go, when that happened, that's why we do it. Even though it wasn't for an audience, it was for us or for each other or inspired by the story.
I think we, I guess like Brittanie and I being both Filipino artists in a city like St. Louis, there's just not a lot of us. And I think one of our big aha moments was actually we did a play called Welcome to Arroyos, which Brittanie directed, and I was in it. And it was great because that was the first time I had a Filipino director. It was the first time I was playing a character who had to be Filipino. And we had two Latina actresses, one Latino actor, one African-American actor, and then one white actor. So it was one of the first times me and Brittanie were not the minority in a room in regard to theater.
Right.
And that was kind of before I really joined on as a creative producing director too. I was still kind of mulling it over at that time. But, during that process, me and Brittanie were just kind of like, we could do more stories like this, or we could even take stories that aren't usually for us and like bring a different perspective to these stories that's not really being done in St. Louis. So that was like kind of the start, in my opinion. Brittanie, you might differ, but that was kind of like, wow, this could really build into something truly special where we bring in the community. We reach out to other actors that might look like us, or other minority actors who don't really get seen anywhere else. But then how can we always want our stage to reflect the community as a whole. So that's what we really strive for. So with that comes just a lot of recruiting, a lot of connecting, and just a lot of just like reaching out to other even theater leaders. And then that's kind of how we've built our community, just based off of the fact that, we're not used to seeing people like us on stage. So how can we kind of move this forward, but also, keep building it into something special with all kinds of different actors. So Brittanie, I don't know if you had another moment, but that was the moment for me.
Yeah, I think I definitely think that's funny that you said that, Kevin, because I was just reminding me of like Kevin and I were like in Welcome to Rose. He was an actor, but we were both like with the company, and we were building this bar, and we were just talking about how like you don't see stages like this all the time. And then, something also is when we did Steel Magnolias, we made the decision that all of the actors were going to be women of color. And I just remember standing in that audition room with just like goosebumps, because it just to see the community come out. And it's like, how do you keep the community coming out and not, just settle on just being content with, oh, well, who shows up is who shows up. I think it takes a lot of work to build trust with the community, especially when you're talking about, artists of color. I think there's a lot of times where it's like, oh, we'll do this pop-up show and okay, we have that person or they're in the background. And I think for
Absolutely.
us, it's always been intentional and being aligned on, it's not just about checking the box of representation on stage, but it's showcasing the best sides of every story and knowing that I could be somebody and looking on the stage and seeing, an actor of color and being able to relate to that. And so I think it just is important for us to kind of not go into a room and settle for anything less than representation on the stage. And Kevin and I have been kind of expanding and inviting directors into the room, and we collaborate with directors who kind of have that same like mind, because we kind of set the precedent. And that's how like we saw Grace as Elle, and I remember Grace sent us like a text from a social media post in, like, what was it, 2013
like
or
2000,
something.
yeah, maybe
And she
2010.
said, if only the text or the post was like, if only I was white and Elle. And she sent us that when she got cast as Elle. And like,
Oh my
for
gosh.
me, it just seeing like people of color on stage and being able to see people watch them and say, like, that's a believable story no matter what. That person is playing that human character justice, and it doesn't seem off or forced. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. You're right. Well, I think the thing that's ridiculous is the thing that is forced is everybody's white and well off. And I mean, it's ridiculous that there isn't equal representation like there is in society. That's the false narrative. Where you're creating a true narrative. It's just it's offensive that it's rare.
Yeah, and
That's
it's
right.
like, and it's like it's so wild to think, like, when we're in the thick of rehearsals, and the show's cast, we're 3 weeks in, maybe we're starting to block a show, we don't even talk about it anymore. It's just like we're in the story now, and like, and when these actors are acting, and they're believable, it's just like all of that just really goes away. And then we get to like Tech Week or opening weekend, and we're just like, wow, like we are representing a lot of different cultures. And and it's nice to see it now, because when I started acting professionally 11 or 12 years ago, most of the time when I started, I was the only person of color. So like now it's just like not even a thought now. It's just there's just so many like more actors and actresses out there who are like really getting their shot. So
Yeah.
It's really, really refreshing to see.
Right.
And
And
I
I
think
love that. Oh yeah, go ahead, Brittany. I'm sorry.
I have this saying that like representation isn't about checking the box. And I'll never forget when we were doing, I think it was Anastasia, and I had cast Kimmy Kidd, who everyone loves, and she's incredible. And she said, am I allowed to do this, or is that like not who my character is? And I told her, I was like, you're an African American woman. If that is who you are, like, you don't have to I'm not like trying to make you straighten your hair and slick it back. Like, be who you are as this person. I'm not asking you to be the white version of this. I'm asking you to be authentically who you are in this role. And sometimes I think that's what happens too, is an actor of color is put in a role, and but they're trained to be, you have to act white. And that
Oh my
is,
gosh. Wow.
that is gross too.
Right. No, you have to. Well, we all bring our own experience to a role. You can't bring the more life experience you have, the more you can bring to a role. But if it's more diverse, you've brought even more to the role. I mean, it's ridiculous. I always go back to, I keep trying to teach my students who are very young. I just want to send them off to high school with knowing theater, an actor is doing one thing. They're trying to get what they want.
Yep.
There's nothing about race in that. They literally are trying to get what they want.
Yep.
They make good and bad choices based on the script, but all they're trying to do is get what they want.
Right.
So, and why is the race any part of it? It's ridiculous.
Correct.
And so that's all beautiful. I'm serious. That's awesome. And I love what you're doing. And you've done great theater. Like honestly don't think about that when I see the show, because I'm literally just experiencing the lives of these characters. So, okay, bringing that and the opportunities, it goes right into what I wanted to bring up next. Talking about opportunities, both for audiences and artists. If we look at the last 5 productions, which we sort of did, just talking about the awards that you guys have received. Jagged Little Pill, Legally Blonde, completely different, with humor and joy and everything in them, but extremely different stories. Steel Magnolias, which not even musical, and POTUS, and then Anastasia. The breadth right there. So what I have to ask is, what all goes into choosing a Tesseract show, even beyond what we've just discussed? So now you've narrowed it down to some shows. What I loved, like, what's happening in the community. Thank you for POTUS. That was gotcha. Lets me breathe a little. And I'll share one thing. When I was a kid, there was a comic strip called Bloom County, and as a 16-year-old, the Vanessa Williams was Miss America, and do some photos and things like this. She was going to have to give up her crown, and her race definitely played into it. And in the comic strip, one of the characters, where she was in a certain magazine, he was in a magazine, he was in Dog World, and it said, "Arf, he's nude." And it was so ridiculous. And I think that's the first time I was able to go, okay, a lot of the things that the world is freaking out about and addressing, and it's on everybody's mind, is complete BS. And it was an art form that made me go, wait a minute. So anyway, thinking of that and thinking of community and thinking of who your audiences are, what other things play into the choosing of a show?
One of our strengths as creative producing directors, actors, directors with me and Brittanie is just that we love collaborating. I always tell people that when you have a company like me and Brittanie do, we could easily gatekeep directing. It could just be me. I could direct something, Brittanie could direct something. I could direct something, Brittanie can direct something. But right. That's just not an option for us, because we love connecting with just people in general. So for me, when it comes to our shows, we do think about, Brittanie will say, "Kevin, what show are you passionate about? Do you want to direct something?" And for me, I'm just I'm really not passionate about a show right now as a director, because I just know that so much time goes into it, and I don't have that bandwidth really to I just don't want to put in that directing hat on right now. But we've read some plays and we know some musicals that remind us of people who would be great directors for them. And then we think about the people that director could bring in. They could come from different pockets of theater that, me and Brittanie haven't had access to, or we don't know really well. So, reading POTUS, for example, I was I'm thinking about Jessica Winningham, which I've done a show. I did Urinetown with her years ago. And she was one of the funniest people in the show. I also knew she was a theater educator. So she's directed before. She just hasn't directed professionally yet. So I made the introduction with Jessica and Brittanie, and it just clicked. And I'm I can't wait to get started on this, because now we get to support somebody in their passion project. And that, for me and Brittanie, that gives us as much joy as directing ourselves or acting in a show. Just watching a director really take charge of a production and being able to do it their way, but also allowing us to hire their team. So we're hey, bring on who you want to support you. We're also here to support you. But if you don't know anybody for maybe lighting or set, we have people that we could pull, and we'll make sure that works out. But even then too, a director that we don't know all that well, and a set designer that we do know well, making that connection, that gives us just as much joy as completing a whole show, because it's that love of theater and that love of storytelling. And so when we're in a room and we're really aimed in on a show, we're all just it's just one of the most joyous feelings that I felt just being part of a process. So when we pick shows, it's just okay, this reminds me of this person. We think they do a great job, and here's why. And then we love to approach people and be like, would you like to direct this? Let's have the conversation. Or would you like to pitch us a show? Like, do you think it would fit, Tesseract and our mission? So just having those conversations on and off that just, and then like using those as building blocks really builds up our whole season. And it's so exciting when we get to talk about different people that we've worked with or people that we want to work with, and just seeing if they're interested or if this is a route that they'd want to go and work with us on. So, community, everything aside too, it's just that pure collaboration and just like working towards something, whether it's intimidating or not. Most of the time it is, but we also know every time we close the show, I look at Brittanie, I'm like, I don't know how we just did that. But getting to that part is like what really, pushes us to really build exciting seasons.
Wow, that's awesome. I love that. And expands the community. Yeah. Brittanie, do you have anything to add? Yeah.
I would just say, we're pretty heavy on the female voice. We've been the last, few shows. We don't really, I think because of the way we collaborate, we don't really do themes in the season. Like, not everything has to fit together like a puzzle piece. Sometimes, like when we did Anastasia into POTUS, into Legally Blonde, that was very connective. But Jagged Little Pill and Recent Tragic Events, they're connected, but in the same way that like it's Tesseract. And so that's what I've been loving so much is people have been emailing us or will text us or will say, hey, I just saw this show. It's such a Tesseract show. It's like people have got our calling card, and it feels great because I think in all of what we do, it's about the story and the time. And so for me, when I picked Jagged Little Pill, yes, the rights had just came out, and it was cool that we were the first on the scene. But for me, the idea that everyone today is struggling and we just don't know how to help, and we forget the power of presence and just being there. And for me, I was like, we need this now, and that's why I picked Jagged Little Pill. But for Recent Tragic Events, when we actually approached Adam Flores because he's been a great supporter. He's an awesome director. He's been out in the community, and we hadn't had a chance to work with him. And he had mentioned like wanting to work with us, and so he was like, "Well, do you want to tell me what to direct?" And we're like, "What are you passionate about?" And we read Recent Tragic Events, and it really does resonate with kind of who we are. And we're really excited to, like Kevin said, to open that door to, we have all 5 actors in that show we have never worked with at Tesseract. Wow. And that to me is incredible. Like the amount of new people that have come year after year is kind of exciting.
And all those voices contribute to what you do, and the visions, just the life experience. You're expanding and you're finding out how people see the world differently. It's like everything Tesseract celebrates. That's amazing. All right, so real quick before I think we're actually going to wrap up fairly soon, because I would just love to have you guys on again and we can take a totally different direction. I want to ask Kevin a question, then I want to make sure to talk about the show upcoming and the show that's currently going that's so good. So Kevin, I was just going to ask you if you could share a little bit about how your work with Broadway in New York and your work with Tesseract Theater in St. Louis influence one another.
Oh man, yeah. So my job here in New York City, I work in Broadway marketing. I'm an account supervisor, so I kind of act as a brand strategist for Broadway shows, or for some Broadway shows, and then there are shows that are coming to Broadway in the next season or two. So I talk to a lot of producers, really within my position, and being a producer myself, not with millions of dollars like they are,
right. Yeah, slightly different budget.
It allows me to. It helps me really listen to concerns and listen to how they want stories, how they want their marketing to be done, because marketing is part of the storytelling. You got to get some of your story out there to get that interest and that buzz going, so people would buy tickets and come to your show. So it really it honestly helps me in every facet of being an artist, because, you know, when it comes to presenting to them like certain ideas or a certain strategy, I really tap into my actor self. When it comes to listening, I really tap into my director and creative producing self of how I try to connect with other artists around me, and just like being able to let people be heard. And then also like the decision making part, obviously, when it comes to a strategy, and like just being able to um, execute on the behalf of a show that that's worth millions of dollars. Every decision, it gets it could get pretty costly, honestly.
Right,
Especially in the Broadway space, one bad marketing ploy, that could be thousands of dollars kind of wasted. So it's nice to be working full time within my passion, but I pull a lot from what I've learned at Tesseract and as an actor, just to like kind of get my job done throughout the day. And I believe I also just bring a different perspective of just like owning an entity of theater, compared to people who maybe have just gone to school for marketing, or they just like really love theater. I mean, for me, there's like, I have a piece of myself back in St. Louis that I also have to support, but I learn from every day. And like that doesn't go away from me when I'm at my job, because it's theater and it's storytelling. So it always goes back to like just the love of storytelling. And it's been very interesting, to say the least, especially going back and forth from New York to St. Louis. But I like that you asked that question, because even now that I'm saying it out loud, it really works hand in hand. About how I approach Tesseract and how I approach, Broadway marketing as a whole. So it's a ride. It is a roller coaster.
Totally. All right. So I guess what I'd like to ask, so of course, right now you've got Jagged Little Pill running, and it's, besides just that they need to go see that and go buy tickets, what would you like viewers to do after seeing this conversation? I'm assuming they're going to be excited. They've heard what you have to say. What's the first thing you would like somebody to do?
I would love them to come and see Recent Tragic Events. I think seeing a show that's not known and that's a play, I think is a risk. I think it's easy to go out and see a musical, but I challenge them to see Recent Tragic Events, because the cast is stellar, and I think the story is going to resonate, and I think there's a lot of great storytelling in it. So that's my challenge, is follow us on social media and then buy tickets when they come out.
Right. And Instagram is your main place to find you on social media, and then you also have the website tesseracttheatreco.org.
Yep.
And we're on Facebook as well.
That's right. And I just didn't put that. Yes. Fantastic. This was awesome. I really hope I can talk with you guys again. And we're actually talking about possibly doing a roundtable thing where we have a series of just topics that we're going to throw out, have 3 or 4 guests on each time, and just talk about whatever that topic is. So I would love to have either of you on here. I'd love to go get coffee with you right now and keep talking, but I don't want to make it too long. So thanks so much to both of you. I'll do my little closing bit and talk to you soon, I hope. Thanks so much.
Well,
thanks, Troy.
Let's see if I've got my last little bit here is I want to tell you a little bit about what St. Louis on stage is all about. So I hope that you have enjoyed. I'm losing my place. I hope that you enjoyed this inaugural episode of St. Louis on Stage this week. Please consider subscribing to our TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube channels, and visit our website, as we're working hard every day to create a site that will bring the larger St. Louis theater ensemble together. We're hoping to create something like IMDb for St. Louis. And if you look up a play or an actor or a performance, it will also link you to other things like That theater company may need a lighting person. That company may have auditions. Another company may connect in a different way. And we'd like everybody to be able to go there and bring the greater ensemble that is the St. Louis Theater together. So we'll see you next time. And until then, go see a play.